Hi, thank you for joining me. If you are new here, welcome. I'm Dani Ellison. I'm a trauma recovery coach for Black women who've been abused by a parent. I help them break generational cycles of narcissistic abuse by going no contact. If that sounds interesting to you, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any upcoming content. So, I have just had the pleasure of watching Miss Lisa A. Romano's most recent video entitled when the narcissist comes back after discard, remember this. Okay, in this video, she goes into a high level of detail about what the narcissistic partner is experiencing when they try to hoover you and come back for you after they have discarded you. And so she's speaking specifically about a romantic relationship, but it got me to thinking if you've already read my book, you know this, but if not, the Going No Contact Guide, which you can access for free on Amazon if you have Kindle Unlimited. In the Going No Contact Guide, I compare going no contact with a narcissistic parent to breaking up with an abusive ex. It's a very similar process. We experience a lot of the same feelings. And so, if you've ever been through a difficult breakup, you know what it's like to miss the person who you've spent that time with, who may be a toxic and intentionally abusive influence. And yet, even though you maybe were the one who ended that relationship and you were aware that you were making a decision to protect yourself, you still miss that person, right? Just because they were an abuser doesn't mean that you didn't love them. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to miss them once you walk away and they're no longer in your life. And so I just wanted to speak to that because it is a huge part of the going no contact journey. We walk away from our parent 100% of the time. You are going to miss your narcissistic parent at intervals after you go no contact. And so I want to shed a little light on it because missing your mom hurts. It is really painful. It gets lonely. It becomes a breeding ground for the guilt and the fear, right? That probably kept you paralyzed and prevented you from going no contact for a while in the first place. And so I want to speak to it to give you some strategies that you can try when that intense feeling of missing your parent comes up after you made the decision to go no contact. Okay, so what you need to remember when you start to miss your mother after you have gone no contact, the thought that you need to keep at the very forefront of your mind is that if you break no contact, if you reach out, you are not going to get what you're looking for. You're not going to get your need met if you reach out to your abusive parent in a vulnerable state. If you're reaching out because you have a stressful situation going on at work and you need validation and reassurance, if you call your mom and put that out there, the chances that she's going to give you that, even when she understands your need and she could meet it, those chances are very slim. Okay. If you're reaching out because you had a big blowout with your partner and you're looking for perspective and comfort, once your parent realizes that, given this is after you've gone no contact, they have no incentive to meet your need. Okay. You have cut them off from the emotional supply that they used to enjoy from your relationship, and they have no reason to meet your need. In fact, it is beneficial for them to withhold whatever it is that you're looking for to draw you deeper into this cycle. Now that you've broken no contact, now that you've reached out, if they stonewall you, if they give you the silent treatment, if they withhold affection, if they withhold validation, you're going to internalize their rejection. And you're now in this position where you have to decide if you're going to walk away from them after being rejected again, or if you're going to go deeper down this rabbit hole trying to find the nugget of validation and approval that you believe is buried down there somewhere. Okay, so if you break no contact, 99% of the time, you are going to find that you regret that decision almost right away. It may even be like within that first conversation. You realize that this was a bad idea. You just made yourself vulnerable to somebody who does not truly care about you, and they're not going to cover you. They're not going to comfort you. You just subjected yourself to further emotional injury. Um, something that helps to reinforce this, because I know it's a challenging reality to wrap our minds around. Something important for you to remember is that your mother, your narcissistic, abusive mother, and if you're not sure if your mother is who I'm talking about, go back and watch my video, The 12 Signs That Your Parent is a Narcissistic Abuser. If you have that parent that I'm talking about, you need to remember just because they're your mom or they're your dad does not make them your parent. Okay. If you really take a step back and look closely at your childhood, at your relationship with this person, you will see that they are not your parent in any capacity. They may be the adult, they may be the breadwinner, they may be the homeowner, they may be the dominant influence in the relationship, but they're not your parent. If you look real closely, I think you'll find that you are actually your own parent. In fact, if you are the person that I'm speaking to, you have been parenting yourself since the moment you realized that you could not trust your parent to take care of you. And that happened a long time ago. That happened in your formative years, in your early childhood development. You had a moment in which you realized, oh, my parent, maybe one, maybe both, they're not someone that I can trust to keep me safe at all times. Therefore, I now have to become responsible for my safety, for my emotional well being. I have to constantly have my needs on a radar and go out of my way to make sure they're being met because my parent will neglect my need in some capacity. And so when you remind yourself that this person that you want to call, that you miss, that you have an emotional, toxic attachment to, they're not really your parent. They're just they're your birth giver, they're your sperm donor. They're not truly your parent. And if you reach out, you're going to get that fragmented individual that you left behind, not a cohesive, unconditionally loving parent that you deserve. Now that you have that mindset, what you can do, right? Well, what you actually can do to serve yourself in that moment when you're missing your parent, you have an emotional need that is not being met, and maybe you have come to terms with the fact that calling your parent is not the best thing to do. Okay, now what? This is your opportunity to reparent. Okay, this is one of those micro opportunities that you have to reparent your inner child. And you do that by checking in with your inner child to learn what is the need that they're trying to get met. So I mentioned, maybe you're having some stress at work and you want to call your mom, you want to vent about it, but you probably don't actually want your mom to speak directly to the dynamic at work. You just want somebody to listen to you, to validate you, to encourage you so that you feel confident enough to figure this out for yourself. So if your emotional need is that you need to be heard, you need to be validated, you need to be cared for, those are all things that you can do for yourself. And once you learn to identify that core emotional need, you can then take steps to meet your own emotional needs. And then that is when you transform from being an abused, helpless child or a victim to a fully reparented individual. You now leave that space of lack, of, of poverty. You leave that space of neediness by meeting your own emotional need. You become your own parent, and in that, you become whole. You have everything you need. Just because you have had to go no contact with an abusive parent doesn't mean that you are without the love and the guidance and the emotional support that you need, right? You're able to give it to yourself. Revolutionary, I know. Um, so learning to check in with the inner child, giving her space to actually tell you what it is that she needs, and then taking the steps to meet those needs yourself is the skeleton for how you reparent. You're going to have many opportunities to do that, but it will always start with you checking in with your inner child to give her space to make her voice heard and her needs known to you. Let's see. So, something that really helps to kind of fuel this process of reparenting is deeply reflective journaling. I probably have said this to you before. I say it to clients all the time, and I'll say it right now. A lot of times, clients who make the most progress, who have those emotional breakthroughs, who are able to move to the next level of emotional competency, they do it because they actually journal their flashbacks. They journal the paralyzing waves of emotion that are attached to the memories that surface. And that is a difficult process. Okay, they actually commit themselves to sitting down in front of the page and writing out in detail every um, sound, smell, color, texture that they can recall from this traumatic memory that has surfaced. They require themselves to face it, right? Like when you actually write down what has happened to you as opposed to cycling it over and over again in your mind, you have to acknowledge it in a way that you don't if you never say it out loud or you never put it on paper. So the process of journaling your flashbacks, journaling your memories of your trauma is very painful. It's uncomfortable. It's unpleasant. It is okay if you need to take a break and come back to finish an entry. It's okay if it takes you a week to finish an entry. It is okay if you have to punch a hole in the wall to get the entry finished. It's okay if you have to break something or cry or break down, scream, do what you need to do to get it out. The more you purge, the closer you come to your breakthrough. But as you do that, you're going to create a record for yourself of what you have been through and what has actually happened to you. And it is very unlikely that once you do that processing work, that you will double back and betray yourself by breaking no contact. It will be much easier for you to return to your journal entry of what happened to you when you were 16, that horrible thing that your mom did or said that just clearly showcases the abusive dynamics of your relationship, that reminds you that things have been this way for decades, that it hasn't changed, that it won't change, that you're not wrong, you're not crazy, you're not responsible, you were abused. When you have that record for yourself in front of your face, it makes it much easier to show up to the work of checking in with your inner child, finding out what she needs to be satisfied, and doing the work to meet that need yourself rather than reaching out to your parent and just kind of trusting them with that role in your life when you already know that they cannot meet the need of being your parent. So that is my little tidbit for you around how we can deal with what happens when we really miss our parent after going no contact. A quick recap: keep in mind that if you reach out, you will likely not get your need met because the person you're contacting is not your parent. The strategy that you can try to overcome that emotional pain of missing your parent when they are no longer there is to check in with your inner child, find out what she needs, and do the work to meet her needs yourself. You're going to empower yourself by being your own parent and no longer being the child of an abusive parent. If anything that I've said resonates with you and you have not already subscribed to my website and downloaded a free copy of my Going No Contact Toolkit, I encourage you to do so right now. You can head to ellisoninc with a K.com and subscribe. You will get a welcome email with a link to my free resource, the Going No Contact Toolkit. Okay, this is not anything that requires you to read. It's a collection of useful links and tools you can find online that will help you begin to think more about narcissistic abuse if you're brand new to it. Gives you just some visual resources to turn over and begin to learn more about yourself within this context of narcissistic abuse. So if you've not done that already, definitely do so. If you're interested in one on one coaching because you have recently gone no contact with a parent or plan to do so in the future, you can schedule a trauma assessment with me to get the ball rolling, also at ellisoninc.com. And if you're not sure if one on one coaching is for you, but you're considering moving in that direction, I encourage you to head over to Amazon to check out my Going No Contact guide, which is free to you if you have Kindle Unlimited. As always, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.